In the main DC universe, one hero stood out from the other heroes. He was an orphan after his planet was gone. He was an alien. He was different, but he was a symbol of hope. He was Superman, the defender of the human race. But in Flashpoint, his life took a different path. This is the story of Project Superman. In this 3-issue miniseries of Project Superman, a tie-in that explores the origins of the Flashpoint universe of Superman, a fiery cataclysm erupts across Metropolis as massive meteors streak through the sky, colliding with skyscrapers and detonating in blinding explosions. Buildings crumble, fire engulfs the streets, and debris rains down from the heavens. A familiar airship marked WDBS floats helplessly among the chaos as the city burns below. Amid the destruction, police officers rush through smoke-filled streets, their silhouettes framed against the inferno. The devastation paints a picture of destiny colliding with disaster, a moment that will change everything. A blazing meteor crash leaves behind a sleek alien pod embedded in molten rock, flames licking its golden red surface. The capsule's crystalline interior glows with cold light, and within it, the small hands of an infant stretch outward, the unmistakable arrival of a Kryptonian child who will one day become Superman. Years later, Metropolis is still under construction after the meteor strike. In the shadows of a military facility, underneath the city, Subject Zero, originally Lieutenant Sinclair, he is held contained in a cell under a red light. He uses his X-ray powers to observe the test being conducted on a young boy, but he starts to lose control of his heat vision. One of the guards calls out for General Lane. The head scientist orders for Force Deus Squad, but General Lane cancels their order. He approaches the boy, calling him Kal. Lane calmly tells Kal that he needs to control himself and just concentrate, but Kal accidentally hits Lane in the arm. With the machine powered down, Kal falls to the ground. Lane slowly approaches the child. He holds the young boy in his arms. He whispers to him that everything will be fine. The doctor snaps, criticizing Lane for breaking safety protocols. Lane places Kal-El on the recovery bed. He demanded to know what had happened. Dr. Ridge coldly explains that she exposed the test subject to sunlight, but it caused a reaction in Subject 1 cells. Lane insists that the boy's name was Kal and not Subject 1. His words are met with scientific detachment. Dr. Ridge believes that naming the child based on alien text, she says, changes nothing. Inside a large observation chamber, Kal-El, thin, pale, and dressed in a dark containment suit, sits beside his small white dog, named Subject 2. But to us, we all know him as Crypto. Kal gently pets him. His expression is innocent and curious. From behind reinforced glass, General Sam Lane watches with a rare look of warmth. Dr. Ridge stands beside him, her tone clinical and detached as she critiques the scene. Ridge reminds him of their orders, to condition the child and fully explore his abilities. She coldly tells him that he is not the boy's father. She noticed that he is using the subject as an excuse to be protective, since his wife had taken his daughters away. Before he could respond, she tells him again that he needs to focus on the results. Back in the chamber, Kal-El hears a faint voice telling him to be careful. In the words of Subject Zero, he recalls how it took him 6 years to find a way to reach the boy, to communicate without words, through energy and vibration, inside his sterile containment. The young alien crouches on the floor, hearing a faint voice for the first time, telling Kal you're not alone. Using subtle manipulations of sound and light, Zero becomes a hidden presence, whispering guidance that only Kal can hear. For 3 years, he speaks to him through the walls, offering comfort and teaching him how to endure the isolation. The boy listens, his eyes bright with new awareness as machines probe and restrain him. Zero teaches him how to see beyond the walls, showing him glimpses of the lab's darker secrets, other experiments, failed subjects, lifeless remains in glass enclosures. Kal begins to understand the truth. He is being shaped for something he never chose. Zero's voice becomes sharper now, almost mechanical, describing locks, circuits, and escape routes. Even the vault doors sealed with a magnetic lock. The thinner wires control the mechanism, the seeds of rebellion. In a sterile training chamber, Kal-El is surrounded by attacking robots, each armed with blunt mechanical arms. Frozen in fear of being hurt, Kal is saved by General Lane. He orders some machines to stand down. Lane steps forward cautiously, his tone softening. He tells Kal, "They need you to react and not run away. Just hit the button," and the robot stops. It's like a game. The child looks up, frightened but listening. The general helps Kal to his feet, voice steady but conflicted. Again he tells him, "I know you understand. We have to do this." It's clear he's torn between duty and guilt, forced to push the boy toward becoming something more than human. The test ends. As they leave the room, Lane rests a hand on Kal's shoulder. As Kal returns to the chamber, he sits on the floor of a sterile observation room, clutching his dog tightly. The doctor watches from behind the reinforced glass. She suggests to General Lane that progress has stalled, claiming that they were getting nowhere. She recommends to have the dog taken away. They need to enforce negative reinforcement. Lane's face hardens, lit by cold blue light as he considers the order. Moments later, Kal sits in Lane's office, small, vulnerable in the oversized chair. The general leans across his desk, trying to balance authority with a fatherly tone. He tells Kal that they were going to separate him and Crypto, but he starts to perform better in the tests. He will allow him to play with him again. He looks the boy in the eyes. He wants you to be a man, a hero, not just some guinea pig. Kal listens quietly, unsure if he believes him. Then, a voice interrupts through the intercom, calling for General Lane. The moment breaks. Lane sighs. He tells Kal that someone will take him back to his room. The boy remains seated, his expression caught somewhere between trust and fear, the image of a child shaped by promises he never asked to keep. His eyes wander to the shelf, where two objects sit side by side, a worn-out baseball under glass and a family photograph. The photo shows a woman and a young General Lane holding a baseball, the same ball encased forever beside it. Kal studies the ball, reaching out, his reflection bending against the glass. It's the closest thing to warmth he's ever seen in this room. He hears a voice call out for him. He quickly takes the ball and leaves the room. Days later, in one of the labs, General Lane received a visit from Lionel Luthor. As they walk to the labs, he takes him to see one of the subjects. Luthor turns his head and shouts at his son, Lex Luthor. He orders him to stop touching objects laying around the lab. As they entered another room, they see a glass containment cell, and inside it was Crypto. Lionel approaches the cell. He looks pleased to see a living alien creature. He mentions that they need to start doing more experiments to get ahead of Queen Enterprises. But unaware to them, they were being observed by Subject Zero. He releases a small amount of energy to make Crypto become more aggressive. But without warning, Crypto bursts through the glass cell and rips through one of the guards, tearing his arm clean off. Lionel rushes over to Lex. He tells him to stay still. Then Lionel does the unthinkable. He pushes his own son in the path of Crypto. The dog attacks the child with full aggression as Lionel runs for his life. General Lane orders for the dog to be contained, but before the security could do anything, Crypto uses his super speed and strength, tearing through armor and flesh with terrifying precision, leaving behind a path of torn flesh and blood. One soldier catches Crypto in his sights and fires his weapon at point-blank range. The shot lands. The beast howls, glowing with unnatural green light as it falls. And far away, deep within the complex, Kal feels the pain like it's his own. He screams in agony as his beloved pet dies. General Lane sits behind his desk, exhaustion etched across his face. The report in his hand reads worse than any battle briefing. The scientists care more about reclaiming the alien dog's remains than about the boy who lost it. Across from him, an officer informed Lane that his daughter Lois Lane had managed to sneak into the base again. Lane sighs, rubbing his temple as the door opens. A young girl enters, smiling gently, holding a small cake. Lois says happy birthday. He forces a weary grin. He tells Lois that the facility was supposed to keep out every threat. He then asked her how did she keep finding her way in. Before the moment can soften, a soldier steps in sharply. He tells the general, "We just got a call from downstairs." Elsewhere in the lower levels, a guard grips his weapon tightly. Kal peers around the corner. In a second, he uses his super speed to run past the guard. He reaches to a keypad. A spark ignites from his eyes. The lock melts away under the heat of his gaze. The boy has learned how to escape. The lock melts with a hiss. Sparks still flickering when the explosion rocks the hallway. Kal stumbles forward as smoke floods a corridor, then freezes. Out of the shattered wall steps a towering figure. Skin like steel, eyes burning white. Subject Zero had broken free. Bullets tear through the air, ripping into him, but he doesn't flinch. He swats soldiers aside like insects, their screams drowned beneath the roar of gunfire. Kal watches, terrified and awestruck. This is the thing they kept locked away. The man they said was too dangerous to exist. Subject Zero turns, his massive hand dripping with the blood of those who tried to stop him. He looks down at the trembling boy and extends it gently, telling him that they will make sure the experiments that the lab was doing will never happen again. Kal hesitates only for a moment before taking a hand. Together, they step through the smoke and into the light, leaving behind broken bodies and the baseball rolling slowly across the floor. They burst into the doors of one of the main labs. Dr. Ridge stands next to a control panel. She looks at Zero, stating that he would rather destroy the lab than escape, then mentions that Lane was right about him. Zero smacks the doctor away, knocking off her helmet clean off. He tells her that Lane was wrong about him. He was meant to be the hero that he was created to be, and he will not stop until all the monsters are destroyed. In a shock reveal, the doctor was one of the lab's test subjects. She combined her DNA with a plant. Then behind her a few containment units opened, releasing a group of deformed humanoids. She tells Zero that her superior should listen to her and have him killed. But it's too late. Zero's crusade has begun, his war not for freedom, but for judgment. The air fills with the screams of the dying as Subject Zero rips through the abominations the lab had created. Kal watches in shock, frozen between fear and fascination. Zero turns to him, his voice calm amid the chaos. He tells Kal to follow him, and in a moment of shock and fear, Kal runs away from the carnage. Zero didn't chase him. He knew that he was just a boy and let him escape, believing that he will come back when he was ready. Back in General Lane's office, Lois stands beside her father's desk. His birthday candle flickers on his cake. They hear an announcement, warning that Subject Zero had escaped from his holding cell. Lois Lane looks up at her father. She asks him what's going on. General Lane stares at the radio, jaw tight. He tells his daughter he had to go. He turns to her, eyes heavy with dread. He tells Lois she needs to stay in his office. The candle burns low. Lois puts the flame out, the smoke curling into the silence of the empty office. Curiosity pulls her toward her father's desk, toward the truth he never shares. A folder stamped Top Secret Lies, half hidden among papers. She hesitates only for a second before lifting it, her brow furrowing as she reads the strange words. Project Superman. Something shifts in the air. The walls tremble. A deep hum builds beneath her feet. Lois steps back, startled, and turns toward the corridor just as a flood of cold blue light surges from below. Her voice catches in her throat. Through the rising mist, she sees movement. A figure emerges from the shadows. A boy in a dark containment suit, pale and wide-eyed, stands by her father's desk. His expression is unsure, almost human. Lois steadies herself and asks softly. She asks the boy who he was. The boy looks up. He doesn't answer. She forces a small smile. She tells Kal that her name was Lois. He doesn't respond to her. The room then shakes violently as the wall explodes outward. Subject Zero bursts through the debris, towering and unstoppable. Lois and Kal are thrown back, shielding themselves from a blast. Zero's voice cuts through the smoke, cold and deliberate. He points at Kal. He tells Lois that his name was Kal, and he is one of her father's experiments and a prisoner like himself. Lois stares in shock, holding Kal protectively behind her. She asks Zero what he was talking about, but Zero interrupts her, his tone growing darker. He informs her that he needs to teach her father a lesson about attachment and sacrifice. His glowing eyes lock onto them, unblinking. Zero tells Kal to step aside. The young boy squares his shoulders, trembling but determined, placing himself between Lois and Zero. Zero raises his hands, almost in sorrow, his voice calm yet heavy. Zero says that we all make our choices, but he said thank you to Kal for setting him free. Energy begins to surge between his hands, a sphere of blinding blue light forming as his armor hums with power. Lois and Kal watch, frozen between awe and terror. Suddenly, a commanding voice cuts through the glow, telling him to step away from my children. General Lane appears, armed with a weapon that glows like molten light, determination etched into his face. He charges forward, wrapping energy coils around his arm. Lois clings to Kal as he instinctively shields her. The general tells him to stay there, as he has to protect people from monsters like this. Zero grips General Lane by the throat, lifting him effortlessly off the ground. He growls at Lane, strong enough to destroy any enemy, and impossible to kill, even with a gun like that. The general struggles, but his hand stays steady, his eyes locked on the glowing device in his grasp. He said that the device was not a gun. He asked Zero if he ever heard of the Phantom Zone. A blinding light ignites between them. Then the room erupts in a surge of yellow energy, swallowing Zero and General Lane whole as they were ripped from reality itself. Their bodies twisting inside a storm of crackling light. Zero's final roar echoes, then vanishes into the void. When the light fades, silence fills the room. Lois stands trembling beside Kal, who reaches toward the smoldering floor where the two men disappeared. A faint trail of smoke rises from the destroyed weapon, the air still charged with the ghost of what just happened. The monster is gone, but so is her father. Sometime later, Kal is back in his cell. In the cold blue light of the facility, a tall man in a uniform steps forward. He introduces himself to Kal as General Nathaniel Adam. He informs the boy that he will be in charge from now on. His voice carries no warmth, only authority. Inside the containment cell, Kal watches silently. The general continues how things are going to work, that his cell will be the only home from now on. From time to time, they will run experiments on him. Kal's small frame looks even smaller behind the glass, his expression unreadable. Adam leans closer, telling Kal that someday he may come and tell the general that he is ready to fight for their country, and they might let him. His tone hardens. Or they might not. Kal lowers his gaze, quiet. Then, without a word, his eyes flare red. A thin beam of heat vision burns into the wall, etching a simple stick figure of a girl in a skirt, the only memory of Lois Lane he has left. 5 years later, in a crimson darkness, a pair of red eyes blaze open. A voice claims that they are no longer blind. We see through the eyes of Subject Zero. His eyes were now adapted to the Phantom Zone's prison dimension. Using his X-ray vision, Zero sees shapes of skeletal figures of Batman, the Flash, and Cyborg. But he also sees the immature Kal floating in the air. After the trio heroes cause an explosion within the Project Superman lab, Subject Zero bursts free from containment. Zero's body was crackling with unleashed energy. He promises that he will prove to the world what a real hero is capable of. Meanwhile, over the Atlantic, lightning cracks across a storm-dark sky as Kal streaks through the rain, the ocean churning below him. Each flash illuminates his determined face, soaked, trembling, but unyielding. The air burns with static. Waves crash violently beneath, the storm mirroring the turmoil within him. He pushes forward through the chaos, the lightning almost guiding him, wrapping around his flight path like living veins of light. The closer he gets, the heavier the rain falls, but his eyes remain fixed ahead through the curtain of rain. He spots the coast of England, now renamed as New Themyscira, emerges from mist, a fortress carved from cliffs and war, with ships wrecked at its edges and cannons lining its shore. Kal descends through the storm toward the battleground below, the fate of the world waiting just beyond the lightning. After 2 decades, Subject Zero emerges from the Phantom Zone, free at last, surrounded by the echo of lightning and vengeance. The air burns where he steps, his form half shadow, half energy. He said he was free, along with his captor. General Lane stumbles backward, his face pale under the harsh glow. The towering figure approaches, his voice calm but filled with decades of fury. He said he could finally touch him. Lane falls to the floor, eyes wide as the monster towers above. Zero looks down, his expression unreadable. He said that Lane had locked away a warrior and spoiled a child who wouldn't fight. He said Lane asked him to protect America, but now he sees beyond nations. Lane raises a trembling hand, trying to speak, but Zero cuts him off, the air vibrating with his words. He said there would be no defiant last words. He said Kal had chosen to stand in his way. The energy crackles as Zero's claws tighten, the general strength fading beneath his grip. Then, his tone drops to a chilling calm. He said he would kill Kal next and show the world how a monster protects it. The sound of bone and armor colliding fills the silence. Zero breaks Lane's neck, killing him on the spot. Kal descends through storm clouds, the Atlantic fading behind him as the land unfolds. Green fields scarred by black smoke. Below, the highways are littered with wreckage and silence, the aftermath of battle written in twisted metal and flame. He lands softly between two abandoned cars, the air thick with the smell of burning oil. A crow perches on a shattered windshield, its beak red. Kal's gaze follows it to a lifeless soldier half-slumped against the car door, eyes open but seeing nothing. He looks away, his face tight with quiet horror. In the distance, columns of Amazons march across the ruined overpass, their armor glinting gold against the gray sky. They move with precision, the war still alive in their stride. Kal watches them from above the wreckage, his shadow crossing the fallen and the flames alike. He flies forward again, weaving through the skeleton of what was once a road, now a graveyard of men and machines. The world he has emerged into is broken, and its gods still walk among the ruins. Subject Zero moves through the dim corridors, the walls pulsing faintly with red alarm light. The stench of decay clings to the air. He kneels beside a massive, spiked corpse, the remains of Doomsday. His voice is calm, reflective, almost reverent. He said that ridge had slammed Doomsday's DNA into his own, creating something new, something incomprehensible himself. Blue energy flares across his eyes as he presses his hand to the creature's body. He said this horror had given him gifts: strength, adaptability, and the power to bend the universe's forces to his will. The Phantom Zone, he said, had given him clarity. Energy seeps from the corpse into his body, wrapping him in a storm of crackling light. Soldiers creep through the corridors nearby, their weapons ready, their breathing shallow. But Zero doesn't hesitate. His transformation is complete. He said he would clear everything from his path. A flash of motion, a single step, and the hallway explodes with gunfire and cannon. Back in England, Lois Lane's voice echoes through the static of a crumbling broadcast station. She said she had gotten her story out to the world, reporting from London, even as the Amazons closed in. Through the glass, armored soldiers with gold and crimson rifles breach the studio. She turns toward them, her jaw set, already aware of the cost her truth would bring. The wall explodes before they reach her, concrete and steel folding in with a deafening roar. Lois is thrown to the ground, dust clouding the air. She coughs, struggling to sit upright, her body trembling from the blast. Through the haze, a figure steps into the light. Tall, slim, his silhouette haloed by smoke and falling debris. She recognizes him instantly. She said there he was, the boy everyone thought she had imagined. He moves closer, quiet, unsure, the faint red emblem on his chest flickering like a heartbeat. He said, "Hello, Lois." For a moment, the war outside fades and the impossible stands before her. The boy who fell from the sky, now a man. Subject Zero rises from the wreckage of Metropolis, his body glowing with violent blue energy as the city trembles beneath him. Cars, debris, and terrified people are lifted into the air as if gravity itself has turned against them. He said that Metropolis had changed, and that he could finally do more than just watch as a ghost. Light bursts around him, energy bending the space itself. He said he would wait no longer. Instead, he would reach into the very fabric of reality surrounding him. His power surges outward, wrapping the skyline in spiraling ribbons of force that twist steel and stone like paper. Buildings crack and tilt. People scream as the streets rise from under them. Subject Zero's expression remains calm, detached, almost serene. He said he could see across the globe now, his vision stretching beyond the horizon, touching every corner of Earth. He said he would be the only Superman. The words fall like a declaration to the universe, cold and certain. As he looks at the Horsian, his eyes set on England, and then he sees Kal-El. With a smirk, He says there you are, and he flies at full speed to England. London lies in ruins beneath a gray sky. Smoke drifts from shattered buildings, and bodies line the streets around the leaning clock tower. Lois Lane stands among the devastation, calling out for survivors. When Kal-El lands beside her, she turns, stunned to see him alive. She says they need to get him out, somewhere safe, asking how he even found her. He said he came to protect her, his voice earnest but uncertain. He promised to take her far away, somewhere no one could hurt her again. But Lois looks past him, toward the burning city, the chaos, the people still fighting. She says they're in the middle of a war, that she can't just leave. Kal steps closer, pleading, his eyes full of confusion. He says they can go somewhere safe, but Lois shakes her head, trembling. She says she has to do something, that standing by is not an option. He lowers his head and says softly that he's sorry. Her eyes fill with pain. She says, "Oh God, what did they do to you, Kal?" He doesn't answer, only says that they'll figure out, that he'll find a place safe for her. His hand reaches toward her cheek, a fragile gesture in the middle of a dying city. A thunderous explosion tears through the city, throwing debris and bodies across the shattered streets. Lois shields herself as a shockwave hits, and when the dust clears, a towering figure emerges through the smoke. Subject Zero, his eyes blazing like cold fire. He said it almost mockingly, his voice echoing through the ruins. He called them Lane children, saying it was fitting to find them together again, as if fate itself had arranged a reunion. He steps forward, calm and deliberate, his boots cracking the broken asphalt beneath him. He said they would have front row seats to his mission, Sam Lane's mission, the one he now claimed as his own twisted purpose. He said he would destroy every super being who might pose a threat. Lois clutches Kal's body, trembling, her eyes wide with horror. Subject Zero looks down at them, expressionless, and said one final thing before the air began to hum with deadly light. He said Kal gets to go first. Lois opens fire, her expression burning with fury and grief. Bullets rip through the air, striking against Subject Zero's armored chest with no effect. She said she had really hoped he was dead. Each shot is a punctuation of rage, of everything she's lost. He stands unfazed, smirking. He said General Lane would be proud of her courage. Lois shouts back that Sam Lane was a better man than him, that he'd never turn his pain into cruelty. She keeps firing, yelling that if Zero wants revenge, he should fight the Amazons or Atlantis. Not a man who's been tortured and imprisoned his whole life. Subject Zero tilts his head, voice cold and measured. He said they gave him a mission and then locked him away when they realized what he truly was. Not mad, but enlightened. Lois snaps back that they realize he was insane. Before she can fire again, Lois stumbles back, gasping, as a shadow rises behind the monster. Kal, throwing himself into the fight with a desperate cry. The sound of impact echoes, smash, as steel meets power in a blinding flash. Kal charges forward, his fist connecting hard against Subject Zero's jaw, sending shockwaves through the air. The impact throws rubble across the ground, and Lois watches in disbelief as the boy she once thought fragile now fights with everything he has. Subject Zero steadies himself, almost amused, and said Kal's decided to fight. His glowing eyes narrow as Kal unleashes twin beams of heat from his own, searing across the villain's chest. The energy burns through the metallic armor, forcing Zero back a step. Kal doesn't stop. He lunges again, his punches fueled by years of fear, confinement, and awakening rage. His voice trembles with purpose as he fights, trying to stand against the impossible. Subject Zero blocks the next blow effortlessly. His smirk returns, and he said, "Allow me to give you a lesson in fighting." The ground splits beneath him as he swings back with devastating force, the pavement cracking like glass under the power of his strike. Lois screams Kal's name as the two collide again, thunder echoing through the ruined streets. Subject Zero hurls Kal through the air, smashing him into the pavement with force that cracks the ground between the River Thames and the London Eye. Lois rushes forward, shouting over the chaos, trying to reason with him. She says that her father knew he'd hurt people, that he regretted what he'd done to one of the soldiers. She asks if he's Sinclair, desperate to reach whatever humanity might be left in him. Subject Zero turns sharply, his glowing eyes fixed on her. He said no. Then, colder, he said he's Subject Zero. The name hangs in the air like a verdict. Kal rises from the rubble, blood streaking his face, and launches himself back into fight. He slams his fist across Zero's jaw with a thunderous impact, the kind of hit born from pain, not power. But Zero barely flinches. His expression hardens, and he catches Kal mid-strike, gripping him by his head. The sound of straining metal fills the air as Zero glares up at the struggling boy and prepares to strike back. Subject Zero slams Kal into ground with a thunderous impact that cracks the street beneath them. His voice rises, trembling with fury. He said they wanted Kal to be the hero while he was cast aside, locked away like a mistake. Energy surges around him in violent arcs of blue light as he crushes the earth under his hand. Before he can strike again, a sharp metallic sound echoes through the air, and he turns toward the noise. Armored Amazon soldiers stand at a distance, weapons raised. One of them calls to command, reporting meta-intruders in their sights. Subject Zero's eyes narrow, a grim smile spreading across his face. He said, "Excellent. Fodder for a demonstration." He lifts Kal by the collar, speaking to him almost calmly. He said Kal should watch as he shows how he intends to protect the world. Bolts of energy streak from his hands as he charges the Amazons. He moves with terrifying precision, absorbing the power of their attacks, the blue light around him growing brighter. He said he flows like water, that he consumes the energy of their strikes and adds it to his own. Lois, ducking behind rubble, shouts to Kal that he has to get out of there now. Her thoughts race. Zero isn't a soldier anymore. He's a wounded child, hiding behind his twisted sense of purpose, still angry at her father for betraying him. But as she yells, the battle intensifies, and Kal looks up, refusing to run. Lois kneels beside Kal, the ground trembling under the force of Subject Zero's rampage. She pleads with him, saying she doesn't know what he really is, but Zero is a soldier trained for war, and they can't win this. Kal looks up, his eyes burning with resolve, and simply says no. He stands, bruised and shaking, and tells her that General Lane always said they had to protect people from monsters. Lois insists that doing so will get them both killed, that no one can stop a creature like this. But Kal doesn't move. His gaze locks on Zero, who is tearing through soldiers and Amazons with unstoppable force. Zero roars as he crushes his enemies beneath waves of energy, his body glowing with chaotic light. He shouts that this time he'll keep control. Doomsday's power burning inside him, now is to command. He lists his enemies with venomous pride. Amazons, Nazis, Atlanteans, pirates, zombies, apes. He said, "Bring it on." Kal takes flight as the ground splits apart, the world erupting in noise and fire. The great London Eye begins to collapse, its steel supports groaning as explosions ripple through the city. Kal flies toward it, determination in his eyes, ready to face the monster head-on. He lifts an entire section of the tram with one hand and hurls it through the air, the ground shaking as it smashes apart in a thunderous explosion. Kal crashes into the wreckage of a shattered tram, metal twisting around him as lightning tears through the storm above. Subject Zero looms over him, energy radiating from his body like a living storm. He said he would now teach the final lesson, the only lesson. Zero advances through the debris, his voice echoing with eerie calm. He said attachment is suffering Kal. Kal pulls himself up, bruised and gasping, but Zero slams the tram on top on Kal. Zero keeps talking, his tone almost philosophical. He said Kal keeps struggling, and that's what causes pain, that he thrashes and breaks because he cannot let go. Lightning spirals around them as Zero reaches down at Kal. His eyes burn like cold fire. He said let go, Kal, and stop struggling. Kal, pinned beneath the crushing grip of Subject Zero, clenches his teeth. He said he's ready to suffer. Zero snarls, his glowing eyes flaring with fury, commanding him to let go. But Kal refuses, answering with a firm no. Energy surges between them, lightning crackling through the ruins as Zero channels the full force of his power downward. Blue electricity explodes across the ground, the impact creating a deafening crack. Kal's vision flickers, seeing the monstrous silhouette of Zero's energy form, skeletal and blazing like a phantom of rage. He speaks through the pain, telling Zero that all his talk about struggle proves he needs it. He depends on it to feel alive. Zero smashes him again, concrete shattering around them. Kal gasps through the blow, saying that struggle is what keeps focus. And still, even beaten and broken, he does not let go. Subject Zero roars, his voice swallowed by the storm of lightning and energy ripping through the sky. He said he's going to tear Kal apart, demanding that he let go. But Kal stares back, silent at first, refusing to yield as the storm crackles around them. Lois, crouched behind a wrecked barricade, struggles to aim a strange energy device toward the fight. She yells for Kal to get clear, but he doesn't move. Zero grips him tighter, electricity burning through both their bodies. Kal shouts at Zero, stating that with all of his power, Zero cannot control him. Kal leaps above Zero, even claiming that Zero cannot even control himself. Zero drops to his knees. He starts to feel weak. As Kal stands before him with a glowing yellow lightning behind him, spiraling out of control, he says he can't. Something's wrong. Energy bleeds from his body in chaotic streams of blue and red lightning. Lois shouts for Kal to get away, but he stands his ground, hands glowing with a golden light bursting from his chest. Kal looks at Zero and says he's bleeding energy, telling him to stop struggling. Zero snarls that he needs to center himself, but Kal steps closer, his voice steady even as the storm rages around them. Kal reminds him, "You're always saying attachment leads to suffering." The light inside him intensifies, his skeletal form outlined in radiant gold. Then he adds quietly, almost like a prayer, "So be unattached." And with one powerful punch, Kal hits Zero with such force he punches through his body, causing an explosion, destroying Subject Zero once and for all. In the aftermath of the explosion, silence falls. Smoke rises over the shattered city, and Kal lies amidst the rubble, his suit scorched, his hand still glowing with a small, burning ember of light. He looks around. Zero is gone. The ground is cracked and lifeless, save for the faint sound of fire licking the debris. Then he hears a voice, weak, trembling. Lois. She lies nearby, her body broken, struggling to breathe. She calls herself stupid, whispering that it's always the same story. The girl gets killed and the hero. Kal crawls to her, the ember in his hand dimming. She looks up at him, eyes filled with pain and clarity. She tells him he has to go, to help the others, to save the people, not for her, but because that's who he is. Kal holds her hand, torn between grief and duty, the light from his chest flickering as the weight of her words settles into him like a vow. Lois touches his face, her voice trembling as she says that he has to save them, because it's the right thing to do. Her hand falls. Her eyes go still. Kal whispers her name, desperate for a response that never comes. He holds her closer, refusing to accept the silence. The fires burn around them, the city in ruins, smoke curling into the gray sky. Then, with quiet grief, he lifts her body in his arms, standing amid the destruction like a man reborn through tragedy. His eyes glow, light flickering behind tears and ash. In that moment, the broken boy who had been hidden away is gone. He says his name, Kal, and today he must be a Superman. In another world, a child from the stars could have become our greatest hope. But in this one, he became our greatest tragedy. Because sometimes it's not power that defines the man. It's the light he's never allowed to see. This was Flashpoint, Project Superman. Thanks for watching, Traveler. If you enjoyed this journey through the Flashpoint timeline, don't forget to subscribe and help the channel grow. And tell me, which alternate universe should we explore next? Your idea might become the next story beyond the multiverse.